So I believe that we are now live. This is Get Valiant episode, 111, I think it is.
The big 111. Who thought we'd ever get
Yeah,
there?
not me.
I knew it from day one that we would get here.
You knew from day 111?
From day 111, I knew we'd be here one day. 111 day.
Oh, this is going to get stupid in a second here, but oh well. So just to start off with, and of course this is going to be really dumb. I'm just trying to get to the live chat, and it's going to play the video, and you're going to hear the audio, and it's going to be really stupid. So sorry for that.
It's okay.
But right off the top, how fucking cool is Josh Dysart?
Yeah, that was a great episode last week. It was so much fun talking to him. He was such a nice guy. You know, and the fact that we had him on for like almost 2 hours, I can't believe he would even put up with us for that long. But yeah, it was a really great episode.
Yeah, I had a ton of fun talking to him. I don't know. I mean, we got to go over a lot of different stuff. I love that he brought up Star Trek.
You brought up Star Trek.
No, he brought it up.
Did he bring it up?
Yeah, he was the first one to bring it up because when he brought it up, I was totally going to bring that up. But yeah, that was awesome. I had a really good time hanging out and talking to him. And like you said, the fact that he talked to us for a couple of hours, even hung out through some technical difficulty bullshit. That was really awesome.
Yeah, good times. Hopefully we can have him back on at some point, maybe after the life and death of Toyo Harada wraps up. That'd be great. But yeah. What's nice is I just feel like he wasn't the kind of guy. This doesn't happen with us anyway, but like he's just one of those guys who are like, if you ask him a question, he's got something to say about what you're asking. It's not just like get through it as fast as possible, but like he's got thoughts, and like that just makes for a really great time, I think, for people who are listening, which is the important thing. So he did good. He was awesome.
Yeah, he was what I could hope for from an author that I enjoy as much as I like a lot of the stuff that he's done. I really like the way that he puts his voice, and the social realism, as he puts it, the term that he was using for a lot of the way that he, the voice that he has in his writing. And I really appreciate that. And I really like the message that he puts across. So yeah, definitely was cool to talk to him. It was awesome that he was such a cool guy. And like you said, hopefully we'll get back with him. But the biggest thing that happened, I think, this last week was the dropping of that photo of Vin Diesel as Ray Garrison. We still haven't seen Vin Diesel as Bloodshot, but we're like halfway there.
I agree. I think like on one side of it, if you look at it, you're just like, it's just Vin Diesel and some like army fatigues, but at the same time though, it's actually like, it's something from the movie. It's the first still that we've gotten. It makes it seem like, man, we're just like that little step closer, because to me, now we're just going to start seeing more of that stuff. You're going to start seeing more of like the cast. Maybe we start seeing a picture of him in makeup, looking like Bloodshot. Who knows? And I also think after seeing it, hold on, I'm having a little bit of difficulty on my end. I'll let you talk for a minute.
It's just Archer, making his voice heard. Yeah, I mean, my whole thing about it is like, yes, kind of like you said, it is Vin Diesel in fatigues, right? Like it's Vin Diesel in camo, which isn't the most earth-shattering thing to, have a picture of. But at the same time, we have waited so long for this movie. And yes, we know that it's been filmed and there's a scheduled release date and all that. But at the same time, I mean, we've gone through so much ups and downs, and like with Ninjak Versus, all the back and forth on that, and this is going to happen this day and then it doesn't, and then all this insanity. So the fact that we are seeing steps being taken down that road toward the Bloodshot movie coming out is amazing, and I'm going to relish every single step that we take down that road. And definitely a photo of the actor as the main character of the movie, the title character of the movie. That photo being released is obviously, a step toward the movie coming out. I mean, that's a big step. I mean, any big Marvel movie that comes out, that's usually the first step we get there too. You see a picture of, what's her name as Captain Marvel. You see, the new picture of the first look at the new Captain America suit for whatever movie's coming out. I mean, you always get those first steps. And this is our first step toward a Bloodshot movie, so I'm fucking stoked.
Yeah, and the thing that's really cool to me about this is I had noticed at one point yesterday, like on his Instagram, which is where I think the image came from originally, there was like a couple 100,000 people who had seen that and liked it, Not
Yeah.
and there might even have been more who just were like, I saw it and that's cool. But I want to say, like, after today, someone on Valiant Comic Fans had pointed out that I think he had made like 2 posts about it, and it was like a total of 1 million people who had seen that. And that's crazy. That's like a crazy number just for like a picture of him with glasses on, holding the bag. Ray Garrison. Like, that's awesome, and like that's a 1 million people that know about Valiant, who maybe didn't know about it before, because as much as we think these are huge characters, and 25 years ago they were, nowadays they're not that big, So to me, there's a lot of excitement there, and who knows how many people decide to pick these books up now because they like Vin Diesel and they want to support a project like that in a different way than just buying them a movie ticket. So I think we're going to get into some really exciting times as far as Valiant goes. And you might see like new people posting on like the message boards or Facebook groups or interacting on Twitter about these characters. And that's really exciting. It's really cool, One thing I think about this that I keep hearing people say, and I don't know how I feel about it, is the hair. Because like it'd be cool if he had hair, but I don't think it really matters, Like I don't think it never ever comes up in the comics, man. Like it's never like.
No, come on, Josh. We all know that the more hair you have, the cooler you are.
Well, I think that's some bullshit. Okay. There's a guy fucking losing his hair. Let me tell you right now, I don't care if Bloodshot's bald. Okay, bald is beautiful in my book. So, fuck all you hairy.
I don't like bald people. Don't trust them.
I don't like people with hair or facial hair for that matter.
Damn it.
as long as Bloodshot doesn't have a neck beard, I'm cool with it, man. Okay.
Hey, man, Commander Bloodshot was cool as fuck.
That is true. He was cool, and he was bald. So there.
That's right. So we can do bald and bearded. The Moose is hanging out in the live chat, and I don't think he appreciated my disparaging bald comments.
don't talk shit, man. We hear you. We are Legion, okay? No, but like it's one of those things where like people bring it up, and I get why they bring it up because it is a part of the character. Bloodshot has a unique hair look. His hairstyle is very different from most everyone else. But at the same time, if they do most everything else right, if he's a guy with red eyes and the pale white skin, and he's kicking a lot of ass, and guys like Dinesh and Eric Heiser, who wrote the script, if those guys inject a lot of the stuff from the comic books into the movie, I'm not going to give a shit if he's got hair or not, Just give me a good movie. And so, like, to me, it's just like, I kind of get where people come from with the hair because it is a part of the look, but at the same time, there are other things that I'm more concerned about with it, But like I was saying earlier, it's so cool that like that many people have looked at this, who have seen his posts. I saw news on this everywhere. Like every single film page I follow and comic book page, everybody was talking about this. That's huge. That's very huge. And I don't know. Let's find a way to get that 1 million people to buy like a Bloodshot comic.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to. Moose had pointed out it was Jesse. I don't remember. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to pronounce his last name. Is Debsky, something like that? Who had pointed out the number of people who had been who had interacted with Vin's posts. because yeah, definitely a lot of people reacted to those posts. That post on Instagram, the one that I saw, or the two, like Jesse had pointed out, and then also the all the news sites. I mean, comicbook.com and comic book resources and everything, every news organization, Newsarama, all of them had articles and were posting about, Vin Diesel as Bloodshot. And, the amount of buzz that photo generated is pretty fucking awesome. And I think that just goes to show that, when we do get the full on Bloodshot photos and we get teasers and trailers and all that, I think that there's a good chance that there's going to be a big reaction to that too. And hopefully, one of the reasons I love Valiant is that they're bringing a different type of voice into the comic book world, the comic book industry. And hopefully they can do the same thing for the comic book movie industry and gain fans that way as well. And, just be a different voice. I mean, people kind of have an idea of what to expect from Marvel movies and what to expect from DC movies. And, I think having that third option of another shared universe of movies that can be different and stand on their own is great. I think that that's something to be really excited for, even if you're not a Valiant fan. But obviously, us Valiant fans are super fucking stoked.
Yeah, and I've said this in the past. I probably said this a bunch last year, but it's going to be so exciting when we start getting to that time of year where like there's just regular like a trailer on TV, like on regular TV. You're watching football, you're watching a sitcom or whatever you're watching, and all of a sudden, Bloodshot trailer pops up on TV, or you're going to see things like on like the Tonight Show or Colbert or whatever one of those shows that are on, and you'll see like Vin Diesel talking Valiant and Bloodshot. It's going to be so badass, And I think the media push on this is going to be really exciting, just to see like all those places that Valiant and Bloodshot pop up. Because think about like this, we all get so excited over like little tiny things in the background of movies. There was a film on
Titan.
The Titan, yeah, Titan. And it had like a poster of like I think an Exo Manowar or something, or like a comic book cover that just kind of was seen in the background. And people were so excited about that, But think about what you're gonna do when you're watching like basketball, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're gonna cut away because we have a sneak preview of the new Vin Diesel movie Bloodshot. Like how they did for the national championship game in football, and they showed like a sneak preview of like Captain Marvel. Like that's gonna be crazy. It'll be so crazy, And it's to me like it's just exciting, And I'm happy for the company like that. This is gonna happen now. I wish there was a few more people who were still working for the company while this was happening. But at the same time, as a big fan of all this stuff, it's just like it's a great feeling to know that like Valiant's going to come into their own. I just hope there's a lot of success that follows for the print side of this, because first and foremost, that's what I'm a fan of. That stuff exists right now. The movies don't exist yet for me. I don't get to see them yet. So I want to make sure that no matter what, there's things happening that keep the print side going. And I really hope that like, and I think I'm not alone in this. I think a lot of us kind of think that the numbers are low, but if a movie comes out, it's just going to generate all this excitement for the brand. And people are going to be like, oh, I'm buying Batman. I want to check out Bloodshot. I hope that's what happens. It'd just be cool. Whatever it takes just to keep the books going, and not only keep them going, but also then get creators who we're all excited about saying, hey, I want to work on those characters too, I think that this year is a very optimistic time for Valiant. I think the additions of Rye later on with Fallen World and Punk Mambo and things like that, those are exciting, like I hope they can keep the momentum going. And I definitely hope that like, as far as like Bloodshot goes, I just want to see some more. Really want to see more.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I can only imagine how long we talk about the first still or the first image we see of him in the makeup, like full gear, shooting the shit out of something. It's going to be like a whole episode just that.
I will lose my shit. I fucking freaked out when Jesse Fresco posted that photo of just Vin with the sunglasses. Like, I freaked out a little bit just seeing that. So I'm sure I'm gonna hyperventilate a little bit when we finally see Vin. Because I mean, we've had that Louis LaRosa cover that some asshole out on the West Coast owns and won't share. But that cover alone, I mean, especially the colored version of it, the black and white version is amazing, but especially the colored version of it looks so fucking badass, and it has me really excited to see, full out Vin Diesel as Bloodshot. And plus I also want to say I feel really lucky as a fan of Bloodshot. I mean, he is absolutely my favorite character. I think anybody probably that listens to our podcast, watches or knows of our podcasts, probably pretty well aware that I'm a huge Bloodshot fan. And the fact that the first movie we're getting in the Valiant universe is Bloodshot, I'm really grateful for that. I mean, it would be cool if like the first movie was Exo Manowar or Eternal Warrior or Ninjak or Faith or whatever. But, obviously for me, like it couldn't be better than having the first movie being Bloodshot and that being everybody's, kind of introduction to the Valiant universe. So really, really excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be great, man. And the thing that's fun for me about this is I know that you are like, to me, I always say Eric's the biggest Bloodshot fan. Like you've got all the books, you geek out at like small things, like any book you're like really excited for, and that's great. I love the fact that I do this podcast with you because of that. It makes it really exciting when news like this happens. So when we start getting closer and we start seeing more stuff, I can't wait to hear how you feel about it. It brings a newer level of excitement just knowing you and seeing like how you feel about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm obviously absolutely stoked.
And when they do Moose movie one day, I hope you know how I feel about it, and you feel the same way for me.
Be happy for you and your dead drop glory.
I know how much you love Betamax. Yeah.
Oh, Betamax. No, Moose pointed out that he's hoping that the Louis LaRosa Vin Diesel cover is like used for a movie poster, which I think would be pretty badass.
Oh yeah,
it's a badass image. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know how much time we really want to spend talking about one image of Vin Diesel with sunglasses and a backpack.
How much time you got? No.
Yeah, no, like another hour maybe. Then we got.
See, this is the problem that happens with anything though that's like Bloodshot. It's like we were just like, oh, we gotta talk about it for like 20 minutes. I'm okay with it. I just hope people that listen, you just put up with it. Like, oh, come on, we just want to hear like what you think about some book. Just move on to something else.
And we can move on to books. We do have a couple of books to talk about. Since we didn't talk about Faith Dreamside last week when it came out, we can talk about that one, Faith Dreamside number 4. And then we also have Shadowman number 11. So we're getting 2 endings here. It's obviously the ending of Jody Houser's most recent Faith mini, Faith Dreamside. And this is also, unfortunately, the end of hey, Sean Hayes is hanging out. Good to see you. It's also the end of Shadowman, and I know that both of us have really been enjoying this Andy Diggle run on Shadowman, and I'm really bummed to see it end. And honestly, with the way that Incursion went from being an Andy Diggle story to an Alex Packnagle story, I really hope that this isn't the end of Andy Diggle's relationship and involvement in the Valiant universe. I really hope that we get more from him.
Yeah. Hey, let's start with Faith, and then we can spend a little more time finishing up on Shadowman.
Absolutely. So, Faith Dreamside number 4. Spoilers ahead for anybody who isn't aware of our kind of format. We will be going into these books with spoilers, so just be prepared for that. Hopefully, you've read them.
Especially Faith. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you've had a week and a day to read it. Jeez.
You could have read it during our interview with Josh Dysart, for Christ's sakes.
A 2-hour-long, super unprofessional.
They were like waiting. They had their copy open. They're like, I can't wait for them to go over this. And then they're like, where is it at, man? They're just talking to Josh the whole time. Damn it.
Get to Faith. I did notice, too, that he said that, he's really liked what has been done with Faith as since he's not been writing her. Obviously, Jody's been writing her for quite a while. And I thought it was cool that he kind of gave that shout out since he is the one that brought her into the modern Valiant universe. So I thought that was cool. But
I was thinking about that tonight, like when we were talking about Harbinger becoming a movie and how much he talked about how he wanted people to see Faith. I thought that was actually really neat. Like that he felt that strong about her. Because you never know. Sometimes like some people have these characters that they write, and I feel like obviously he likes Toyo Harada. He's done so much with him. And I think some of the Imperium characters, even you're just like, oh, you can see like they have like a little bit more personality than some of the others. Chris is a character too, like in Harbinger. I think there's more he's done with her. But yeah, like it's crazy how much like he talked up Faith, like and that's great, because I do kind of think that that will be one of those things that could be like the added bonus I think for people who are going to go into this and not know anything about it. I would hope they leave thinking that Faith's awesome. I really do.
Yeah. Well, and I want to say that this issue, Faith Dreamside #4, is I felt like it's a perfect Faith issue, and as the ending of this mini, honestly, like it's exactly what a Faith story, how a Faith story should end. This has been a pretty intense story. I mean, obviously, it's still a Faith book, pretty lighthearted in that sense, and a lot of humor and things like that. But at the same time, the stakes have been pretty high. Monica Jim's life is on the line, and there's been a lot going on, and getting to this ending, and I think that there's so much fun and humor, but at the same time, like real emotion in this book that honestly, I don't know that it could have been better. Like I really enjoyed everything that Jody Houser has done with Faith. I think that that first mini she did, she was kind of getting her bearings with the character. And then the 12-issue ongoing was obviously Jody understands this character. We got Faith in the Future Force, which was more of that. And then Faith Dreamside has been another installment of Jody knows what she's doing with this character.
Yeah, my favorite thing about this issue, after I was done reading it, I kind of had the thought that Monica Jim and Faith see just a little bit better like eye to eye. Because I do kind of feel like they're so different. They're so like they're the exact opposites on like the psyop spectrum. Monica Jim like raises a weapon. Life is serious. Life has got like really high stakes. Whereas Faith, she lives life through a little bit softer image of life, and she's got a lot of like geeky tendencies within her. And I thought like here, like you see them get along, that there's a natural like it feels like a natural friendship at the end of it, Whereas I think a lot of issues have kind of put them on opposite sides of one another. I like the fact that it does play off very high as like Faith being the hero, Faith taking that step to save her friend, regardless of what the stakes are. I like that. It was a good superhero story. I kind of thought though in the end a little bit like, I just didn't think that like Dr. Mirage was that huge of a part in this issue of it, because she was just dealing mostly with like what was going on with Gwen. But for the most part, I thought I loved the Faith and Monica stuff. I thought that was the best part of it, and I like how it ended. And I just came out of it thinking like it was a little bit more important than I thought it would be originally, because it just seems like a book originally where you have a couple characters that are going to team up and they have an adventure and that's it. But I do feel like it did kind of progress their friendship. It made it a friendship and not just two people that know each other who just happen to have powers.
I think it also progressed Faith. It brought her. This story was kind of her getting a chance to deal with the way she's perceived in the world, the fact that she's kind of public enemy #1.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice that she kind of got her mojo back in a little bit of in a weird sense. But Moose is bringing up something that I didn't really think of, and I'm not sure that I 100% agree with his assessment, but I do want to bring it up. He's saying that he feels that they could have Jody missed the boat a little bit for the fact that she didn't flesh out more of a PTSD angle with Monica Jim. And I get what he's saying. Like, this could have been a story to kind of flesh out the idea that, Monica's watched her friends die. She's been through some serious shit. Like, she's a teenager now and has already been involved in wars, watched her friends die in front of her eyes, had to hide out to, fearing for her own life and the life of the rest of her friends that are still alive. Like, she's been through some serious shit. And I think that is a good point, that this book could have done that. But at the same time, like, I would expect an Animalia or Monica Jim titled book to do that. And I don't know that it would be reasonable to think that in 4 issues of a Faith book that we would get, that kind of character development for Monica Jim. It would have been great to get. I definitely don't disagree there. But I don't. Yeah, and Sean's saying the same thing, that Jody missed the boat by focusing too much on Faith, and there could have been way more for Monica Jim in this. And I think that, yes, there could have been more focus on Monica Jim, and I wouldn't complain if there was. I love her as a character, but at the same time, I think that this book did as much as it could while still being a Faith book. Like, if this was just a book called Dreamside, or there was a team name for these characters, that would make more sense. But honestly, I mean, this is a Faith book. This is just kind of the next arc in Jody Houser's Faith run. And that's, so it makes sense to me that the focus is on Faith and her development as a character and her growth and her breaking through her own barriers, and not as much focus placed on, other characters getting to break through those barriers.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the problem with it is that how much of that can you really cram into this, because of the way storytelling is done nowadays. If you had, say the book was just like Faith Dreamside, and Faith has to find a way to get to the the dead side to rescue Monica, that doesn't involve bringing Dr. Mirage along with her the entire time, and then you don't really have that in there. I think then you can devote page space to tackling Monica's issue with PTSD. I think when you have Dr. Mirage added, and she's got her own issues inside this entire story, how do you find the space? As a Faith story, I thought this really worked well. And I liked Dr. Mirage for the most part in the other issues, but here I just thought, like, she wasn't great. I totally see where they're coming from with it. But I also feel like if you're going to do that story, you can't just have like bits and pieces of it. Like, give it I think if you're going to do a story about Animalia having PTSD, and she does, you got to give it the proper space. You've got to give it the proper format. You maybe have to make that a bit more of a focus within the story. You couldn't do it justice here, So I don't want to knock Jody for that. I think just because, like, it's a serious topic. It's not like, say, my friends got killed by supervillains or like, something like that, because that's not real world shit. But PTSD is super real world, man. There's a lot of people that get affected by that stuff. And I just think, like, for such a serious topic, I would hope that a writer comes in and says, hey, I've got like 3 issues, or I've got an oversized one shot where I want to tell this story about that and really delve into it. I think then it has the proper space to breathe as a topic.
No, I totally agree that I think that what would be worse than not really addressing it would be trying to address it and doing a shitty job because of lack of space or, lack of story focus on that topic, so I don't know. Honestly, I mean, since both Moose and Sean are bringing up the topic, and I also agree it's a good concept, and it seems like you do too, I think that we could probably all say that it would be awesome to see an Animalia or Monica Jim story about that. I would love to read it, like you said, an oversized one-shot or maybe an arc or something like that, like a mini, and delve into that.
Well, and if history is any indication of things, we know that the things that we talk about here end up happening.
Definitely.
Like so let's bring it up.
Like that Arthur Reed mini that we were crying for. Definitely happened.
If we just keep talking about it, eventually someone's just going to be like, "Oh my god, that's what the people want, man. We're going to do it." Boom. So,
that's what the people want.
Yeah, I don't want to get too much on it, because like it's not really an issue with it yet. But
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, like, I get it, man. Like it does. I mean, I feel like if it was maybe just someone different writing it too, because I think that there would be maybe more of a focus on her. But I mean, this is a Faith story. It's not Monica Jim Dreamside. So, but I don't know.
True
It's a
story.
good thing is great idea. Super great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would read the shit out of that book. I
Yeah.
would totally read a Monica Jim book that dealt with that PTSD. I also think that that's such a heavy topic that it would be hard to squeeze into a lighthearted story like a faith story. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, just as dark, this story got as dark as it could, I think, and maintain the tone of Jody Houser's faith stories. So I think that bringing any deeper, darker, heavier stuff like that into it would have taken away from the tone of the book. So
Yeah.
I think that that's a good story that should be told. I just don't know that this is the place to do it. Anyway, instead of talking about what isn't in the issue, I think what is in this issue is a lot of fun. There are moments like, when Faith and Dr. Mirage realize that, what they're dealing with are their abandoned dreams. And they kind of get that understanding, and Faith kind of takes that back and takes that dream back. I thought that was amazing. I really, really liked that moment. And she kind of comes in all badass in that superhero pose. And at the end, she calls it going Super Saiyan or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was fucking awesome. Perfect Faith. So much fun. When the big bad demon turns back into a tiny little cutesy snake and she's petting it, that was fucking awesome. Like, there's so many of those fun, cute little moments that, like I said, it's just perfect for a Faith book.
My favorite moment of this entire issue, which doesn't have much to do with the story at all, was just at the very end when like Monica Jim's like, I gotta get out of here. I don't like your adult toys. And Faith's like, collectibles.
Yes.
Talking about collectibles. I just feel like
I also love that moment.
I know what popped up in my mind. That's all I'm gonna say. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah. No, that was a hilarious moment, and exactly the kind of thing that Faith would be like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I would imagine her saying that and just being like bright red. Like, no.
Yeah.
Collectibles. Mint in box.
Perfect. Yeah, no, that was a good example of one of the fun moments in this book. I thought it was funny when they're back in the hotel room, and the one ghost in the hotel room is like, man, I hope somebody does come and attack us. And like, I don't know. There's so many little fun moments. For me, like I said, this book feels like a perfect Faith story. Honestly, like, I'm a Bloodshot fan. I like Batman. I like Punisher. I like dark, gritty, badass, violent comics, right? Like, those are the stories that I'm most into. But for what Faith is, what kind of character she is, and the types of stories that make sense for her, I think this is essentially a perfect, like, the art. I mean, we haven't even really talked about it yet because there's not a whole lot to talk about in regards to the art, other than the fact that it fits the book perfectly. Like, I didn't feel like there were any moments where the art wasn't quite on point, or there was any, I didn't feel like there were any pages that, took me away from the story. I felt like it was nailed. So for me, honestly, like, this is a really, really high scoring book for me. I'm going to put this at a 4.5. I think it's a really, really strong book, a very, very solid ending to what's been a fun miniseries. And, the last page is Faith will fly again. And I really hope that not only do I hope that we get more Faith, I hope we get more Jody Houser Faith, because I think she really gets the character.
I agree with that. I'm going to go a bit lower. I'm going to go 4 out of 5. But still, it was a great book. I definitely agree, though, like, more Jody. I think Jody has a real voice of the character. I like these adventures. The thing to me about this is, like, I don't think they need to be like these earth-shattering, status quo changing things that happen with her. She has fun adventures, like, to me, like, I feel like these are the kind of things we need more of, sometimes. So keep it coming. But I also think, like, keep Faith coming. I think it's an important character to have around in print at least once a year, do something with her. So we've got this wrapped up. I hope something else down the line happens. We'll just see.
Yeah, it would be great to get another Faith mini this year. But like we mentioned earlier, both of the comics that we have to talk about are endings. So we can move on to Shadowman number 11. I was really surprised at how this comic went. Within the first...
What do you mean? Like, do you mean like structure-wise, or...
Yeah, well, like, honestly, like, I figured the fight that is the first couple pages of the issue was going to be the issue, but instead it
Oh,
was just those first couple pages of Jack fighting Sandria, and then it just moved on to other shit. And I was kind of taken aback by that. I was just like, holy shit! And that made me honestly that subversion of my expectations made reading the rest of the issue really interesting, because I was like, man, I thought this was where the issue was going to end. What the fuck is going to happen now? And all the craziness about that Hedda Better ending up being, taken over, and like all this crazy shit. Like, so much happened in this issue. And I really feel like basically what we got in this issue was, look at the shit that I could have done if I was able to write this book longer. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with that. And to me, this felt a little bit more like old school storytelling, like the stuff that I grew up on as a kid, where you wouldn't have an issue that's just like one fight and it wrapped up and that was it. Like, I liked the way it was paced. Like, I wasn't expecting the Sandria fight to end as fast as it did. I too was like, okay, that's gonna be the issue, like he's gonna wrap up on that, and then like we'll get a couple things hinted at. Someone else will pick up on them. Who knows? But I loved how it was paced, and I thought the same thing, not as strongly as now as I did with the last issue. I thought issue 10 had a little bit more going on with it, where Diggle probably knew they had to wrap things up, but wanted to put a few more elements into the story. I love it, man. Like, that is great to me. Like, sometimes comics are so decompressed. It's nice that when you get issues like this where someone's going to change the scenery a few times on you, I love it, man. More people should do that. So I thought everything here was great, man. This was just such a great issue, great ending. And we've gushed over this book every month, except for me, the month I didn't read it. but, but it's been an excellent run. And I just thought like so much of the fighting in this with the avatars and the way the ring worked and Jack going to the dead side at the end, like just so much of this was cool. I think Shadow Man is in a great place. They should have no trouble doing something with this character now. They don't need to sit there and explain like where he's been. They don't need to explain his powers that much. He's ready to go, man. Like, so hopefully, like kind of like we just said with like the Faith wrap up, like don't keep the character shelved. Let's see some more of him. But it's a damn shame that this book can't last, because Diggle was doing some great work. Renato Gaitis, great art. Um, I thought the secondary art in this wasn't as bad as I thought it was with like the last issue. There was some
Agreed.
better stuff there, but still, it's just so hard to see Renato Gaitis doing art and then you switch over to something else. Like, at least here it wasn't as jarring, I thought, but it's still like, just give me a whole issue of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind different artists and different styles for when there's like a good reason for it, because all the things that other artist were either inside the Ring of Solomon or in the Dead Side. Everything else was Renato Gaitis. And I like that approach. I like the idea that I talked about this a little bit with the Goodnight Paradise when we talked to Josh last week. Even though it was all Alberto Patricelli, there were flashbacks in Goodnight Paradise that were drawn completely differently.
Yeah, where
the
he's
same artist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
one thing that stood out to me in this too is I love how in the Shadow Man books how the dead side is depicted. It comes off as such a dark, desolate place. And sometimes I think in other titles, and Faith would be even a good example of this too, where it's just like it doesn't always come off like that. Like, to me,
yeah.
like it should just be like a place of nightmares. Like, it should just be a horrendous ordeal. I feel like when people write Shadow Man, they do a good job of that. I thought Diggle nailed it with this on this title. Just anytime he even did anything with it, I thought like he did a great job of what they depicted as. And if I ever have a complaint about what the dead side is, I just feel like anytime people use it, there's no like source as to what it's supposed to be sometimes. Like, there's a storyline in Jack that you and I both don't like. and they go to the dead side, and the dead side doesn't even seem like that, like anything crazy. You know, it just seems such a weird place. You know, flaming angels and things like that.
Right.
I like what it is here. Like to me, it just seems like something out of like a heavy metal cover of the 1980s. You know, where just like some fucking badass demon would just show up, you know, or something like that. Like I like that stuff, man. So that's my only complaint. Um, but yeah, I'm really sad that this is going to go. And you know, one thing I was thinking about, and I'll give you a moment. I want to talk about this one for a minute, and I'll give you a moment to think about it. I'm curious what your favorite moments on this run would be. Because I was thinking about this today, and I was like, what would be my favorite thing about like this run of Shadow Man? And the thing that I think I really liked the most was the issues where after Jack died, and he had that um, self examination of his previous ancestors, going through them and their struggles with like the power and the Loa and all that kind of stuff. I thought those issues were really good. Like when I've had a chance to look at them again, I've really enjoyed them. And I think that those are probably my favorite part of this entire run. But I think the whole run is really good. And I think that for people who didn't like the first run that BEI did of Shadow Man, this makes up for it. This is excellent material. But if I had to nail it down to a moment that I'm like, yeah, that's what I really liked. It was those moments, like when he went back to the 1930s, he was back in the 1800s, he was, you know, first discovering the Shadow Loa, like all that stuff to me was just really groundbreaking for the character.
Well, I'm going to try to answer your question, say something I've been wanting to say since we started talking about this, and bring up a point that Sean made in the live chat all at one time.
In one
So
sentence.
I don't know about one sentence, but so Sean brings up that it's weird that they set up Shadow Man to be a major player and then basically take him off the board, and to kind of, which I agree with. Like this book does like put Shadow Man in a position to be a major player in the Valiant universe. And to kind of piggyback on that point, the other thing that I've been thinking about this book is that, you know, I've been saying for the longest fucking time that I really like the idea of Shadow Man, but I don't like how much of like a whiny bitch Jack can be and has been through most of VEI. You know, I mean, he's just constantly complaining about what he has to do and what's going on around him, and he doesn't like take control, you know. And I think that the promise of this series was to rectify that and put Jack in a different place. And here we are, issue 11. He's finally 100% officially in the headspace that I want him to be for in what I think is going to make the best stories for him. And that's where the fucking series ends, right? Like, so for me, you know, in answer to your question, what's my favorite thing about this? The fact that we've finally gotten Shadow Man to a place, like the place that I want him to be at. That's something that's really exciting for me, and I look forward to with future stories. Hey, William, good to have you here. I really look forward to that, but it blows that we get to this point and that's where it ends. The same thing that Sean's saying. I mean, we've got Shadow Man to this place where, you know, he can be a major player in the Valiant universe. You know, he's obviously in a much better position to do that than he was during all the Ninja X stuff when he was the Magpie. So, you know, I think that, yeah, it's a crying shame. I'm really happy that the character is at that point now that I've wanted him to be. But yeah, it's definitely a bummer that that's where it ends.
Yeah. I think the problem with all that though is that the sales are just so low on this book. And I want to say Faith Dreamside is super low too.
Sure. That
It's
makes
it's
sense.
crazy.
That's
I'm
surprising.
trying to look it up tonight to see what the sales numbers were for December. But I want to say that when I looked at them for November, both those books were under like 4,000. Now that's just print. No one knows what anybody does digitally because nobody likes to release that information. But you know, that's just really low. I mean, that's low for Valiant. You know, like they don't usually have their books that low as it is. You know, so it sucks. You know, and the thing that always drives me nuts about shit like this is that, and this was a little bit with Ninja K too. Although Ninja K ended because Christos Gage was leaving. Honestly, I don't know if I would have wanted to read anyone else take that book over, but I do feel like it's it was such a good title. Who knows what could have happened if they were to keep along a spy espionage type story to it. But to me, it's just like people complain like, the books aren't good. When is Valiant gonna do something for the fans or shit like that I read like on the fucking Facebook page? How fucking good has Shadow Man been? And nobody's reading it, How fucking good was Ninja K? And people weren't even picking that up. Like, yeah, EXO has been like an average book. Still has the best sales numbers. And I get that it's EXO Manowar, the flagship character.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just like, fuck, man, if you guys want good books and you want those classic characters, you're not supporting the classic characters and you don't like the books. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what more they could have done. I mean, like, Shadow Man is right where he needs to be. Like, just like you said, like he's so unchained now that he's like, I think the next time we see him, he's going to be a force to reckon with. There's not going to be all this baggage. It took Andy Diggle a while to get him out of that, but he got him out of it. But the journey to get him out of that has been excellent. So I don't know, man. I mean, like, it just sucks. Like, I feel like we got what we wanted, but nobody wanted it. No one wanted to pony up for it. So
Right.
it just sucks. But hopefully, like, the next time, when people are like saying, when are we going to get these characters? We don't want Forgotten Queen. We don't want anything else, They remember, like, oh, yeah, I have to buy those books too if I want them. Just
Right.
fuck, don't sit
Yeah.
there and get mad when the company puts out something else because no one's buying those classic characters as it is.
Well, yeah. How much time and how many posts and comments were there pining for another Shadow Man book?
Oh, yeah, and I was one of those people too who was just like, I want more Shadow Man, dude. I fucking love Shadow Man. I've got like every book. I don't have like every variant, but I've got a lot of that shit, man. And like that's one of my favorite characters of all time with Valiant. Not like my most favorite, but he's definitely up there. And this has been great. And it's just like, fuck, man, we got it. Like buy this book, buy Ninja K, shit, buy all of them. Really, I mean, I don't want to see any book fail. I just think it's
Yeah.
weird. Like people will be like, I just don't, this isn't what I want. I don't know what else they could have done.
Yeah. No, I don't know either. But I mean, it is what it is, and unfortunately, it is ending, and we'll have to move on to other stuff. For me, this has been a really fun book. Um, I'm having a really hard time coming up with a score for it. I really don't know where to put it. Sean had an awesome comment that he now deleted, and I don't know why, but he's saying that basically this book was like, hey, that was fun, right? Cool. Well, that's all you get. Get the fuck out. This was a one-night stand. That's kind of what it was too, because it was like, this book fulfilled like the initial promise that we got from it, which was basically to put Shadow Man where he is at the end of this series, at the end of this issue. And that's all it did, right? Like I was hoping that we would get that and then some building on that. And I think if the issue or if the series would have been able to continue, we would have gotten that. But, unfortunately that this is where it's ending. But like I said,
the thing that sucks though is that like, if they were to carry this on like another, like say 4 issues, like there's another 4 issue storyline, probably like issue 15 would sell maybe like 3,000 copies. Like it's like that low, and these books are just dropping every month. Like it just sucks, man. Like what can they do to like get Valiant to sell more, And I feel that when you look at all this stuff and you look at like the incentives that they give shops just to pick them up, I feel like Valiant does everything they can to be like, hey, buy this. We'll help you out however we can. It just sucks, man. Like,
yeah, the movies might be the answer, and I mean that's only if they do well, and that remains to be seen.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean this is a really tough one for me to come up with a score on. I don't really know how to rank this. Like, I do think that it's a really well done book. I think that this honestly was a really fun read. You know what? I don't know, man. Like I'm torn. I feel like I need to give this a lower score than I really want to. So fuck it. I'm just going to give it the high score that I like. It was so much fun to read. So, I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm torn with scoring this actually below 4 because I do think that, some of the art weirdness, that secondary artist, like you said, was better in this issue than previously, but it's still maybe left a little bit to be desired. Especially like you said, compared to what Renato Gaius is doing on it. But at the same time, like I said, this is so much fun to read. Even though I really want more, maybe that's part of what's making me want to bring the score down is because I really want more. I think that what I'll have to do is I'm just going to go with a flat 4. I think that it is a really strong book. 4 out of 5 obviously is a really high score. I do think that it's quality book. It's quality writing. It's quality art. Even the secondary artists, as much as I'm saying like, maybe it left a little bit to be desired. I mean, that's compared to fucking, some of the powerhouses that we get from Valiant, like Renato Gaius and Cafu and Tomas Girello and, fucking some of those most amazing artists in the industry, La Rosa and Suyan and whatever. So, maybe that secondary artist wasn't up to that level, but it was still professional comic book, quality work. So, yeah, I think that there are negatives to this issue, but overall, it was a really strong book. Like you said, I mean, it's really hard to understand why anybody, especially people who are fans of the character and fans of the company, I don't know. I just wish that the people would buy it and we could get this. I mean, like Sean said, I mean, this issue could have been turned into a 4-issue arc. You and I both know that's true. I mean, absolutely, it could have been.
Yeah,
but
and this was a book that I think even coming like right when it launched didn't launch as big as it should have, which is crazy, But I mean, it is what it is. I think that like I wish that Valiant from now on could just do everything with a launch title that they did when they launched Exo. When they relaunched Exo Manowar, they did a huge push and they were everywhere and there were shops doing it. I feel like in a way they did that with Rising Spirit. A lot of shops bought in on doing shop variants, and a lot of shops bought in on doing shop variants for Exo Manowar. And there were some with like Shadow Man, but not a ton. And it just didn't seem like they really pushed that book as much as they should have. And I think if they had, I don't know how much farther it would go. I mean, because who knows? I mean, you just never know. But like at the same time, I feel like more eyes would have seen this book. For me on the score, I'm going a bit higher. So this will be my book where I'm higher than you. I would actually go 4.5 on this. I love the writing on it. I really love the pace and the structure of this just because it did feel like more story. And sometimes the way people write nowadays, it's so decompressed that sometimes you're just like, oh, cool, we got a fight, and that's it. And here was like, we got a fight, and then we thought we were just going to get like the resolution, but then there was more fight, and I mean, there was just a lot of cool stuff there, So to me, like, plot-wise, great stuff. Whoever writes this book next, they're going to have some shoes to fill, I think. I really do. I think Diggle just killed this book, man. He just did such a great job. And, like the secondary art, it is what it is. But the thing that bums me out about it is that, like, on other books, it would be like, hey, man, we're going to have, like, Juan Jose Reap and then Doug Braithwaite, will be like the backup or the secondary art, or like, hey, Tomas Giarello, and then who's going to do the backups? Juan Jose Reap or Diego Bernard or something like that, like it'd just be like great stuff. And on this, I was just like, some fucking dude I don't even care about, And I hate to be that shitty about it. I'm shitty for having that opinion, but I have that opinion, and I apologize for that. But my only negative on this is just that, like, I didn't like the secondary art. And I'm not going to knock the book for the fact that there's not going to be an issue 12. I love these issues. This I can tell you right now, I will reread the shit out of this because this is a really great 11 issues.
I do think that this 11 issues is going to make a great hardcover and would be really awesome to go back and read the whole thing.
Yeah. Maybe if they want to, if they make it deluxe, maybe if they want to throw on Rapture, just to kind of get you like that little bit out of the way. Gotta get collected in deluxe.
Yeah, fair.
Everything should be collected off, even the stuff that sucks.
So I'm really curious to see if or when Shadow Man will come back and who will be involved with it. Obviously, that's something that remains to be seen. Nothing's been announced yet. But as far as things coming up, we do have Livewire number 2 coming next week. The first issue of that was so fucking good. that I'm really, really excited to see what they do moving forward. And then we're also getting Exo Manowar number 23, which is this the first issue of a new arc?
First issue, yeah.
So, and I don't even, the last arc was Agent, right?
Yeah, this is the bounty hunters are coming back.
Right. I could not remember what we were coming up to with Exo. Yeah, I think that that could be really cool. I'm also honestly curious to see whether this will be Matt Kint's last arc with Exo.
The thing that I've been excited about, I've been excited about this all day. Just for people who don't know how this stuff kind of works. So usually on Fridays, Valiant sends out their press copies, the digital copies to everyone who is like a press affiliate, or podcasters, things like that. I've been waiting all week for next week's books. I'm so excited to read what comes out next week. Because I think that the last two story arcs of EXO have been really good. The last 8 issues have been my favorite 8 issues so far. I just feel like it's really strong. The book started out pretty strong, but I just felt like it kind of got kind of boring on the planet Gorin. Now, back on Earth, badass shit's been happening. This last arc was the best one by far. So definitely looking forward to that. I thought the bounty hunters were interesting, so I'm kind of excited to see what they do on Earth as far as like taking the fight to Exo. Also, Livewire 1, incredible issue. First issue was so good. I hope people are reading it. And I'm excited to read what happens in the next issue, man. And I hope it's that same high level of quality because I would say that right now that Shadowman's gone, Livewire is number one. So,
yeah,
all right,
definitely. I think it would be really hard for any other book coming out from Valiant right now to compete with that. And maybe when Life and Death of Toyo Harada starts, maybe that'll be up there as well. I still have not read that first issue. So
you're okay. I think
there's
okay.
Huh?
Definitely, I think that's one that definitely get the pre-orders on. It's gonna be huge. I think it's gonna be like 48 pages an issue. So get that shit.
Yeah, because I mean the pages or the issues themselves are going to be like 32 pages.
Yeah. So at least that's what that's what I took away when they came out with the pre-order edition information this week. So it definitely sounds like a book. Like get that in pre-order. That book's gonna have such awesome art. I feel like you're gonna want the pre-order edition on that just to see like how people like Miko Swyan do on it and Cafu. So I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So get it to me.
It's gonna be badass. So we Chris P. Bacon. Who are you, Chris? Do we know you? I don't know. I don't know if we know you from the group.
Hi, Chris. Thing. We know you already now. Hi.
It's a pretty impressive name though, Chris P. Bacon, I gotta say. But he is saying that something that he notices a lot in Valiant books is the same story being used over and over again, which is, like Shadow Man not wanting the Loa and then coming to understand it and then accepting it. Bloodshot Reborn had Bloodshot not wanting, not wanting the nanites. I think that those are, recycling story plots, but I think that that's just kind of what the hero story is. Like if you read Joseph Campbell, who kind of pioneered a lot of the idea of, what a hero story is, and what those hero myths are, that's a very common theme in hero stories in general. Superhero stories, I mean, Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, I mean, all of these characters have a lot of their stories are focused on that concept. I mean, is that something that you agree with?
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it, like I can think of times in the Fantastic Four where Ben Grimm doesn't want to be the Thing anymore. Spider-Man throws his fucking suit in the garbage. X-Men people are like walking away. We don't want any more of this. People they want to go back to their civilian identity. But the thing is about that, those stories are pretty great, man. And I don't think that we should fault Valiant for being like, hey, man, our writers want to do a story like that. That's okay. If the story's good, I'm not going to fault them. As long as it's not like a complete rip, which I don't think any of them are. The only thing I ever think that's kind of weird is that Divinity Zero and Bloodshot Reborn Zero were both just like, hey, both issues end, our women are pregnant. what's up? I mean, both of those, I was like, those are kind of weird. Those ones I felt like Matt
Yeah,
Camp and Jeff Lemire maybe were like talking too much and be like, what should we both do? Hey, let's both have someone get pregnant in this issue. And they both came out really close to each other. At least like Bloodshot Reborn came out like 3 years ago, man. Like, I'm not gonna fault it. Like, and I also don't think that everyone's doing that. I don't think Faith rejects her powers. Livewire's not rejecting her powers. Quantum Woody aren't doing that shit. The way that Bloodshot was after the Valiant, I think it made sense. I think with what they engineered as far as X and Manowar struggle goes, like why he left Earth, I feel like it made a little bit of sense for him to be like, I don't want the armor, but he didn't reject being a fighter. He didn't reject being a warrior. He was still a soldier. He was kicking some ass. And with Shadow Man, it just seemed like he just wasn't ready. But they made him ready with this art, with this run. So I don't know. It's a point. It's a
see what
decent
I
point to
would
bring
say.
up.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling on it is that that the reason that that's such a common trope, and it's not just common to Valiant. I mean, it's common everywhere. But the reason that it's such a common trope is that it's the perfect opportunity for um, a writer to show what a character is made of. I mean,
Oh
when
yeah,
the
it's a human
the
moment.
moment, huh?
It's a human moment. It's a part where
Yeah,
someone's struggling. We all identify with struggle. We all struggle every day with like even who we are as people. And whether you keep going or whether you reject everything you are, that it really tells who you are. And I think that those kind of struggles within the superhero genre, they're interesting because if the character just quit, you'd just be like, what the fuck did I read this for? Like, okay, XO, you just quit forever and that's it. Cool. But no, like they infuse a human element into these characters. Everybody's gonna struggle. Everybody has moments of doubt. How do they overcome doubt? How do they overcome struggle? That's what I think those stories really are, though. It's just like those moments when you get to identify with them and be like, they had an obstruction in their life. How did they overcome it? I love those kind of stories.
yeah. I mean, how many of us have made had things change our life and then wished to be able to go back to the way things used to be?
Yeah. By
Or
the way, I think it's a
you know what I
great,
mean? Like,
great question, Crispy Bacon. Thank you.
yeah, it's a great topic.
Yeah.
I just think that it's a little bit more. It's important to have those stories, like you said. It humanizes characters. Also, like I think that you know a Bloodshot story. Bloodshot's my favorite character, but I would get bored with a Bloodshot story where he knows exactly who he is. He's 100% committed to his path in life, and he has no qualms whatsoever about what's going on around him, and he's just running around being a total killing machine. That's not an interesting story to me. An interesting story is a character being presented with a challenge, and how does that character deal with that challenge? A lot of people in life, and therefore a lot of the characters that we're going to relate to, look at a challenge and say, I don't want to fucking deal with that. Is there a way around this? Is there a way to go back to my life before I had this challenging obstacle to face? And I think that that's a natural reaction. I mean, there's so many changes in my life that have happened, and I've wished that there was a way to undo it or to not have to deal with the fallout. I mean, honestly, I spent a huge portion of today, and not that this is the same thing, but I spent a huge portion of today really, really upset because it's the anniversary of a friend of mine passing away several years ago. And, I struggled a lot, but there wasn't anything, I struggled a lot with the fact that it happened right when it did happen. And it changed my life immensely, and I definitely, if I would have been given the opportunity at that time, would have done anything I could to make my life go back to the way it was before that event took place. Right. But having to deal with the fact that it was my new reality and I had to move on with my life, knowing that he was never going to be around again, it forced me to learn and to grow and to become a different and hopefully better person, by dealing with that struggle and that hardship. And that's what I want to see in stories that are going to be emotionally impactful is, seeing characters deal with real struggle and hardship. I mean, Spider-Man dealt with losing his uncle, and he was going to throw it all away, but he, eventually realized that he had the power and had to use it responsibly and do the right thing. And this is, like I said, a very common thing. Superman has tried to not have to be Superman many, many times.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, very, very, very common thing in stories. I don't know. I think that it's something that is very common in stories in general, not only in comics. I read books. I read a lot of novels, and almost all of the novels have characters that are dealing with that type of scenario. So I think to expect a comic company not to have those stories is unrealistic. I mean, I don't think that you can write good stories and powerful, relatable stories without those storylines. It's just, I don't know that it's possible.
Yep. I agree.
That would be my feeling on that. Anyway, yeah, like I said, Livewire #2 and Exo Manowar #23 coming out next week. Very excited for both of those books, mostly for Livewire, but I think Exo is going to be cool too. Seeing those bounty hunters.
They'll both be good. All right.
We had talked back when those bounty hunters first, came onto the scene back when he was still on Planet Gorin. We had talked about hopefully this isn't the end for them. Hopefully we get to see them again, and hopefully they're not, just a one-off character or one-off group of characters that we'll never see again. So it's nice to know that we are going to see them again, that they are going to be coming back.
Oh yeah, I know that for me, like I was like, I hope these characters last just because I feel like Valiant Universe needs more villains that last and stick around. I'm glad to see them. They're going to get another shot. Hopefully, they're the kind of things that can foil him from time to time.
So Crispy Bacon says his issue is mostly that all these similar stories seem to be coming close together. Maybe they are. I don't know. It doesn't seem that way to me. But, huh?
I can see that a little bit, yeah. So.
It doesn't seem that way to me, but honestly, I haven't been paying attention, so maybe it is, and I just haven't noticed it. And then he said that we look great tonight, which makes me think that he's just bullshitting us this whole time. So very unreliable person. Clearly.
I don't know. He might be bullshitting on this, but I think his initial question actually has a lot of good merit to it. I mean, it's always worthy of a discussion. So, but thank you.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Regardless of the fact that I don't really agree with where he's coming from or his position on it, I think it's great to have those conversations, and I definitely encourage people to come into the live chat and ask us tough questions and give us good topics to talk about, because I think that everybody does that. So something that Sean pointed out earlier that I want to jump onto is that a great thing to let people know is that we do go live pretty much weekly here on YouTube. So if you do enjoy our episodes at all, you want to be involved in our episodes, you want to talk with us about Valiant and the characters and Valiant related things, like we interviewed Josh Dysart about a book he's doing with another company because he writes Valiant. So we're totally fine with Valiant related stuff as in addition to just Valiant stuff. But anyway, if you enjoy our podcast, you enjoy and want to interact with us, please like our videos, subscribe, and hit the bell icon after you subscribe, because that'll let you know when we go live, and that way you can join in on the conversation. If you're listening to this, obviously you know that when Moose and Sean and Crispy Bacon and William have had things to say, we've definitely included them in the conversation that we're having, and I think that's one of the best things about it.
Where the hell has Jason Falter been? Like, he used to be with us all the time, and
I know he was coming back, and then he didn't. So yeah. I'm kind of disappointed.
And it does bring up something. We are terrible at pushing any of that kind of stuff. Like, hey, subscribe to us, interact with us. We're just not great on that end. But we do appreciate that you guys come on. I'm glad that Sean feels that way. Feels that strong about what we do. But yeah, if you can support us, subscribe, send a question our way. Interact with us on Facebook. On Twitter, we have an email account, which is Gmail, getvaliant@gmail.com. If you have questions, we love to read this stuff on there. We love to talk about this stuff. We just had a great discussion with Crispy Bacon's question. So and I feel like when it comes to Valiant, there's no topic that's not that we can't tackle. So we love talking with people. If you got questions, find a way to ask us that question. And one thing I would say, since we're talking about this, and we don't ever talk about this, but like if you listen to us on a podcasting platform or program, rate us up, whether you like us or hate us, like fucking leave a review, man. Be like, these guys suck ass. Or, hey, I think these guys do a really good job. Let the world know, I'm not going to be the kind of guy that's like, only give us 5-star reviews. Give us the review that you think we deserve. But it does help. It does help to review us. So if you can, throw one out our way.
Yeah. Yeah. And like Josh said, give us your honest reviews. Don't give us, the most flowery reviews. That's
I would hope that everyone who listens to us loves us. But hey, if you just think we're okay, if you think there's like 100 other podcasts that are better, I'm cool. I got no ego about it.
Yeah. Okay. You can let us know that.
So anyway.
So Hoosier says that he's subbed, which I appreciate. He thinks Chris has got some good points, and he said that ECCC is going to see a little Bloodshot movie action, and I'm going to say I doubt that, but that remains to be seen, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll see. Me and Hoosier will be there, so we'll let you guys know. And one thing about that, I am hoping to have a lot of content to share with everyone, whether it's creator interviews, things like that. I know Hoosier's reached out to me and to help me, and if I can help him, I'll help him out. So, in March, hopefully there's a lot of stuff that Get Valiant and Hoodoo TV can fans. So
what happened, Josh?
What?
Appeared from me for a little bit there. You said Hoodoo TV, and then you were gone.
That's the code word. Once we say that, the shit cuts off. No, but the both of us, we'll try to get like some cool stuff out for the community to check out, because we know that not everybody can be there. But I'll be there, and hopefully I can get a couple interviews. So we'll see what we can do. And Hoosier's always great about helping out. So, he's always offering to do stuff. So it's like, I'm going to take him up on it if I can. But
it's awesome. Actually, something that I wanted to point out, if anybody did watch our interview with Josh Dysart on the episode that we did last week and enjoyed it at all, if you want to see a much more professional and well put together interview of Josh Dysart, head over to Hoodoo TV because they did a much better interview. I actually loved their interview with Josh, and I'll be honest with you, there were a couple of things that they talked about in their interview with Josh that I made a point not to bring up in ours because I loved the way that it was, discussed in their interview, and I didn't want to try to, co-opt the really awesome points.
I thought were in that. I'm glad you brought that up because I always struggle with that. Like when it comes, like I love it when people will share reviews with us. Like people on Twitter will sometimes tag us in their Valiant comic reviews. I love it. Keep doing it. I just can't read them until after we do our podcast because I don't ever want to steal something. I couldn't watch that interview until after we did ours because I'm really like nervous about like ever taking somebody's question or being like, hey, I have a question that I don't think you've been asked yet. Wink, wink, Hoosier did a great job. He always does a great job. And I love to plug their show. Like Hoodoo TV is awesome. You guys should check them out. If you're watching us or if you're listening to us on a podcast, check those guys out. He does a great job. Sometimes he's got Moose on there. It's just an entertaining show, and I think that he really, really has just a great YouTube show. But he does a lot more with like I think the tools than we do, and that's okay.
I would agree. Yeah. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We really appreciate everybody that interacts with us and hangs out with us in the live chat. Certainly happy to have anybody else that wants to join us come along. And glad that we got, to talk about both of these issues. Unfortunately, 2 series are ending, but hopefully, the new ones that are still coming in the breakthrough publishing push will be really awesome. But until next week, I'm Eric Baumgard.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I hope that you guys all stay valiant. Also, go check out Goodnight Paradise and TKO and support Valiant creators in their other endeavors. But thanks, everybody.
Make some crispy bacon, too. I'm in the mood for it now.
Absolutely. Eat crispy bacon.
Whatever thanks, everybody. Like, just do it.
Peace.